No. So let's talk about how you ended up coming to AEW.
So let's see. The first time I was an extra was Jacksonville during the pandemic.
Let's talk about that. So your career's starting, and then this pandemic comes, probably 4 or 5 years into your career.
Terrifying.
Tell us why it was terrifying, kind of how you dealt with it.
I'm horrible. I can't sit still. Like, I have to be go, like, and then they were like, when they was putting curfews, especially in like the city, like they were like,
Chicago was bad too.
Yeah, they were like, you can't leave the house past this time. You can't be outside. You can't do this. I'm like, I was going stir crazy. My mom was like, I don't care. Just get out of the house. Do something.
Yeah.
But so I had mania bookings that weekend. I took a bunch of indie bookings, and one of them was a GCW show. So I was going to be in Tampa already. And God bless him, Joey Janela hits me up, and there's a clip of me and Billy Starks wrestling. And he sends me this clip, and he goes, please don't kill her. Don't do this again. I was like, okay. And he goes, text Sean Dean. I was like, what? And he's like, just do it. I was like, okay. Hit Sean Dean up. He goes, you from Chicago? I was like, yeah. He goes, what part? And I tell him where I was from. He goes, cool. You're an extra. And I was like, what? And like losing my mind. And I remember looking at my phone crying. I was like, there's no way this is real. And he's like, yeah, just change your flight, come early. I was like, okay.
Oh, that's great.
And so I came down, and it was when we were doing like Tuesday through Thursdays. And I was there the whole time. And my first match was Britt, and then my second one was Abaddon. And I remember shaking the entire time. And Almanado was actually an extra too. So we both had our first day as extras together.
Is she a Chicago girl?
No, she's Columbus.
But someone you just knew from the area?
Yeah, and I kind of just forced her to stay at my house. She doesn't get a choice.
Right.
But
you
yeah,
guys were extras at the same time?
We didn't know we were going to be extras at the same time. So we're standing in line with our COVID papers. And I'm just like, is that who I think that is? And we're looking over, and we're like, both relieved. We're like, oh my God, we know somebody. This is a little less scary.
So it's intimidating, right? When you show up, let's discuss that for a second. When you show up somewhere and you don't know anybody, and you got to just fit right into the locker room, right?
I'm just holding my paper in line with the because we had to do COVID tests before we could go into dailies. I don't remember who it was. I think it might have been MJF. But I remember standing in line, and he just goes, blue? And I was like, yes. And he goes, okay, just making sure. Like, oh, okay. Like, never met you. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was like terrified. And I just remember like walking around dailies. I was like, can I do this? Can I walk this way? Like, what am I supposed to do? So
my first day when I signed with WCW was kind of like the same, like a small TV taping. And I walked in, and I got there so early. There was nobody there except Hall and Nash. It was their first day of work too. And I'd never met them either. And I was like super nervous, obviously. And then I think they were actually kind of nervous too, because they got there early, and we're just like, we're like the kids. We just started a new school, and we don't know anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it was hard too with the pandemic, and obviously wrestling in front of no people.
Yeah, that's when we were the crowd.
That's right. You guys were the crowd. So talk about that.
It was scary because you had to be loud the whole time. Then you feel awkward because you're like, oh, I don't know these people yet. Like, you're just trying to make enough noise, and it's weird because it's daily, so it's like outside, so it's like you have to be even louder because you don't echo. There's no walls. We're all just like, oh my God, this is scary.
Yeah.
And then like going to the back too is even scary. I was like, I have to go out there. Like I have to be preloaded. What can I?
It was hard too though, because like when you're wrestling. And it's like, you guys, 40 of you or 30 or whatever it was. Like, dude, I've been wrestling in front of thousands of people for 25 years. It was so hard. Yeah. But thank goodness you guys were out there, and there was such good energy.
It's less awkward.
At least you can get something out of it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I feel like it's more awkward if there's less people, because then you can actually like see them and hear them. Like that part's the worst.
What's the smallest crowd you ever wrestled in front of?
Oh, you don't want to know that number.
I got 7.
8. The very first training school, there would be like nobody in the crowds. It was so small, and like we were in the middle of nowhere, like very shit area. And my mom would be like, some days she'd be like, I don't think we should run the show today, guys. Let's just camp. And they'd be like, no, we're doing the show. Okay. Sorry we said anything.
It's like you said, like when you wrestle like in front of a stadium crowd, it's just like one living, breathing animal.
Yeah.
When you wrestle in front of 8.
You hear every little
and you
voice.
See every person, and you're just like, and the thing I always felt bad about is like, these people are showing up, we're going to wrestling tonight, and they're like, there's nobody here. They probably feel stupid
just as awkward as we do.
Yeah, exactly, right?
I feel like there was one, and like it's. I feel like if I don't know the people, like I can go out there and be like, oh, I don't know these people. I'm never going to see them again.
Yes.
I can feel stupid. It's okay.
Yes.
They put. The first time that I got tickets for my parents, they put them front row, but I didn't know they put them front row, and my parents didn't tell me. And it was a Chicago, and I remember coming down the ramp. I didn't even get halfway down the ramp, and I could see my mom's bright hair, and I was like, oh no. I was like, no, they did not.
Terrible.
And it was a tag match, and I remember being on the apron, And I could just hear her yelling, and I'm like, no, please, you're making me nervous. Don't do this. So now I'm like, please just hide her in a corner, guys. Stick her in a corner.
Right, yeah.
And then she's like, no, I want to watch. She's so stubborn.
So you're doing the Jacksonville shows, and they keep bringing you back as an extra.
Yeah, well, I did the one, and then I didn't come back until the Chicago I got signed.
So Chicago, I remember this. We had like 2 or 3 shows.
Mm-hmm. We did it.
In around September.
It was a all out week.
I think right when Punk first came in, right? Around that time frame.
No, he came in for the United Center.
This was the night it was
The
Danielson
Hoffman
and Adam Cole.
Yes, the Hoffman Estates one.
Yeah, and then they debuted on the same night, and there was a whole bunch of group. So yeah, so tell me, because I remember that you were on the show from Chicago, Illinois, Skye Blue.
I wrestled Riho the first night. Riho the first night, and they were like, "Hey, you're gonna have one more. It's your test match." And I was like, "My what?" And I was freaked out. But it was me and Red, so it was super cool because like we had wrestled in the Indies before.
Red Velvet?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And we'd wrestled in the Indies before, so I was like, okay, we know each other. We're going to be fine. And went and did the match. And I remember Aubrey was the ref. And she was like, the whole time, she's like, you guys are doing great. You guys are doing great. This is amazing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like shaking the whole time, just trying to wrestle. I'm like, oh my God, no. And then match was finished, and I was starting to go down loser lane, and TK came out to the top. And they came and got me, and I was like, oh my God, what are we doing? And they walked me up the ramp, and that's when he said, do you want to be in the Battle Royal? But I was so convinced. I was like, oh my God, is she going to, am I getting fired? What did I,
so what did he ask you?
Freaked out. He asked me to be in the Battle Royal.
The next day or later that night? Or?
The Sunday.
Okay,
the Sunday of the pay-per-view.
So how were you feeling then?
I cried so much that day. I cried, and then because my mom wasn't at that show, because I was just an extra.
Yeah.
I didn't buy tickets to bring her to like stuff like that. And I remember calling her, and I was like, hey, they put me in the Casino Battle Royal, and she was like, I know your dad saw it on Facebook already. My dad's a Facebook dude.
Right.
And she's like freaking out, and I was like, well, there's one more. And she goes, what? And I was like, they offered me a contract. I have never heard my mother scream that loud in my life. And over the phone, too, I got the phone up to my ear, and she's screaming. I was like, oh, hello.
So did he offer you a contract at that time, too?
No, so he put me in the Battle Royal, and then, like, I got to the back. I, like, breathed for, like, maybe 10 minutes, and CD was like, hey, come here, kid. I was like, oh, what? And I bawling. He didn't even finish what he was saying, and I was bawling. And he was like, it's a good thing. I was like, yes, no, it's great. Thank you. I just never expected this, like, at all.
How did you feel?
I was on cloud 9 for days. Like, I could not sleep. I was so excited. I remember going home and being like, Mom, like, it's real.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel real, but it's real.
Yeah.
And, like, when I came home with the papers, too, she literally was like, can we just frame these? I was like, no, we have to sign them. We have to give them to them.
You photocopy them after I've signed it, yeah.
But she even, from my first paycheck from AEW when I was an extra, she has that on a wall because she was so excited.
But it was cool. I remember seeing you because you have the hat on backwards and you just look like you're just excited. Like, you know, it's a cool vibe, you know, that people can pick up from that.
I didn't even know my gear at the time was the female basketball team that played in the Hoffman Estates Arena.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know it was their colors. And I was like, yeah, I did this on purpose, guys.
Yeah, see, can't you tell? Coordination.
Definitely knew what I was doing.